Welcome back, everybody. So, new home construction in Denver, Colorado. It's a hot topic. A lot of people have been asking me questions about this recently, mostly because of the lack of inventory here in Denver, Colorado, and also because of those really high interest rates, which is kind of crippling for a lot of would-be buyers. And I understand that most people don't know what to expect when getting into a new construction or working with a builder kind of process. So what I've done is put together some must know or really should know before you purchase topics. And I want to unpack all of those for you coming up next. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it. And I have a feeling that most of you are looking at new construction for a variety of different reasons. The one I'm primarily hearing is people really want to have low to no competition. And when you go to a builder or work with a realtor to go to a builder, you can generally get in, see a property or get an idea about the plot, the layout, the home, the build style, everything, all in that first visit. And if you like it, you can actually fill out the contract and get things going right away that day. You don't necessarily have to compete. No bid wars, none of that. So it's very attractive to a lot of buyers. It's also kind of great because you're going to be the first homeowner. You're going to make that mark on that home. You don't have to worry about dealing with old past issues from the prior owners. And lastly, the reason you're probably looking at getting this new home is because it's going to be probably lower stress due to the lack of competition, and it's kind of exciting because you can do some work with some of the builders, some of the design, some of the structures, or at least you think you may be able to, depending on which builder you go to. So it's just very drawing for a lot of people. But there are a bunch of considerations that you need to know as we get into this. So let's just hop into those primary thoughts and get it all out there for you to consider. Currently, there are a bunch of new home communities going on around Denver, Colorado and the surrounding suburbs, with a lot of them happening on the eastern side of the city. Some are happening over on the western, but not as many due to proximity to the foothills, which means there are a lot of opportunities for people that would be buying in these new construction communities. Now, the number one thing you want to consider is going to be the location, where this property is located, both the neighborhood and the parcel where you buy inside of that neighborhood. The reason I say that is you cannot change the neighborhood or you cannot change the location once you move in. So if you're not familiar with the area or you're not really loving the location, that is a primary first consideration you must consider when making your purchase with this new builder. I say this because I know some people that have moved all the way out to Aurora and they loved it. It was a wonderful community. Come to find out that they were too far from their friends and now they want to be closer to the western side of town. That's about a 45-minute drive. Well, now you have a brand new home. You just spent all this time and money doing it and you're going to sell it and move to the next spot. So do your due diligence and make sure that wherever you're purchasing fits your location for all the reasons, both school, commute, etc. Along those same lines, you also want to make sure where your plot is located inside of the new build community fits what you're looking to achieve as well. Not all plots are created equal. Some are bigger, some are smaller, some face towards the mountains, some face towards the cities, and some of these lots come with what's called lot premiums, and this is a cost in addition to purchasing the actual home and anything you do inside of the design center and customizations. So it's very important that you communicate not only with your realtor but also with the builder to make sure that you're getting a plot at a price that is good for you and a location that is good for you, because once you have that and you put your money down on it, there's no switching plots or changing things up. And along those same lines, the last thing I'll say about a location, specifically to the plot location inside the neighborhood, a lot of the more desirable plots, like on a cul-de-sac, or if you're on a townhome and you want an N unit, or you want something that's going to be higher up in topography where it overlooks and you don't have anything impacting your view, you may be on a wait list, or you may have to go into what's called like a lottery-based system where you put your name in and they pull to see if you're actually going to be the one that they go and offer this up to. And those always, well, for the most part, always have a pretty steep lot premium, anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 plus. That is in addition, again, to the purchase price of the home. So a very big consideration when looking at new construction. The next thing I want to bring up is going to be the contract. It is not your typical contract you see when working with a realtor for residential resale. This is going to be a builder supplied contract that is written by the builder's lawyers, and it's very much in favor for the builder because the builder's representing themselves. They're in business for themselves, which is why you should always work with a realtor to make sure that you're getting yourself well represented when going in and talking to the on-site representative, working with the project manager, and reviewing the contract to make sure you're you're fully up to date on all the details included within, so there's no surprises. I've had people kind of ask, do I need to work with you as a realtor when I go into a new construction place? And the answer is, well, obviously yes, because I'd love to work with you, and also because the builder wants to work with realtors representing buyers for a variety of reasons, but the two most important are going to be, we help streamline the process to make sure that everything gets done on task from our end, working with you as the buyer, and then also it cuts down on all the talking back and forth with them and their on-site project managers to make sure that any issues, any resolutions are handled quickly and timely. Without someone like myself in the mix to help you, a lot of times they're going to go to you and wait for it to be answered, or you're going to try and get a hold of somebody but you don't know which number to get to. It creates a lot of confusion and animosity. This all goes to the builder's brand and reputation, and builders are in business to be in a good business. They want a good reputation, they want a good brand. So having someone like me help you out just sort of streamlines the process for all people involved. A fun fact about the contract for the builders: we can review it on site. They can send it to us as an electronic DocuSign. We'll have plenty of time to review it. However, if it is a high interest lot, like one of those I referenced at the beginning of the video where it's an end unit, or if it's on a high topography and there's maybe somebody that wants in there as well and you're going to be the first one to sign, whoever signs for that parcel or that lot will get it. And when you do that, you do need to put down what they are requiring for their earnest money, and the builder sets what that earnest money cost is. Some of it's just $3,000, some of it's $10,000, some of it is 1% of the purchase price, sometimes it's a little bit more, and that needs to be liquid and ready to be distributed to the builder, typically at the time of signing or within generally 24 to 48 hours depending on each builder. So you definitely have that on the top of your mind when you're looking at these properties to make sure you have the cash ready. It's not your full down payment, but it is your earnest money. And with that, a very, very important note: when you deposit your earnest money with the builder and you sign that contract, it's called going hard. Your earnest money goes hard, which means if you cancel that contract for almost any reason, that earnest money stays with the builder. It does not come back to you like in a typical residential resale transaction. So it sounds scary. It's very rare that it actually does happen, and there are extenuating circumstances, a little asterisk, it could come back. Most of the time though, when you put your earnest money down with the builder, you're committing to them, they're committing to you, and they're gonna work together with me in the middle, making sure that everybody's getting all things done. But if you terminate, that earnest money does not come back. So please remember that big consideration. Now let's talk about the timeline you can expect when doing a new construction home. A lot of people think that you can go there and just get the home, you put your name down on the contract and you can move in kind of quickly. Not so. If you're doing what's called a dirt start, which means you're actually going to do a semi-custom to a custom home, you're looking anywhere from maybe 8 to 11 months, maybe a year to a year and a half plus. It depends on where you are in the Denver metro area, or if you're in the foothills, or what the builder's schedule looks like. So it's very important to be communicating all of this information up front when reviewing these homes. Now, in contrast to a dirt start, you may have what's called a inventory ready built spec home, something along those lines where the builder is just building out what they have. They might do a lot of the choices already for you as far as like colors of the paint on the inside or the layout of the home, the cabinetry, some of the inclusions, etc. So with that, you may or may not have much in the way of like control over the process, but the benefit is you'll be getting a new build, and the kicker, you'll probably be able to move into that within 1 to 2, maybe 3 months because they're already done. They've customized it, they've made it ready. There's a couple of builders I've been talking to just recently this year who have done it, and they do a really great job. And this is an excellent option for anybody that's on a faster timeline that really wants that new build experience. And the last thing about the timeline, or at least the style between dirt start and having those spec homes, and I'll go into that a little bit further in the next point here. With the dirt start, you're not going to necessarily know your full cost of what that home is going to look like because you have to look at the lot premium plus the build, and if you're going to do a dirt start with some semi-custom and design center stuff, which I'll cover in just a minute, that cost is in addition to the house base price, so it builds its way up, and you won't know the actual cost until you've gone through all the processing. Versus the spec homes that are ready to go in 2 to 3, 4 months, you know the exact cost you're paying because it's basically like looking at the new car sticker on the window on the lot. Out the door cost is going to be what they say it's going to be. You write your name on the contract, bing, bang, boom, you do your inspections, and it's done. It's yours. So You have fixed costs with the spec homes, or pretty much fixed costs, or variable costs with those ones where you're doing some semi-customization. So there's a lot to consider with that, and I'm here to kind of walk you through that process. And that brings me to a really good point to break real fast and let you know, if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Bill Knapp. I'm a residential realtor here in the Denver metro area. I produce these videos as a way of giving information to people considering a move or a sale here in the residential areas. If you're considering a move into Denver, either relocating from out of state or moving within the state or selling your home, do me a favor, give me a call, text, or email. All my information is listed there below. I'd love to chat and see if working together is a great fit. We've covered the timeline, so let's talk about customizing or semi-customizing a home versus a spec home, which I covered some of those points already when I was talking about the timeline. But let's start with the largest one, being a customization of your home. When you're working with a builder that offers some kind of a customization, most of them is going to be semi-custom. You're not going to actually be working with the architect and redesigning and laying out walls differently and all that. Although you can do that, it's going to be a smaller builder, but most of the ones I'm referencing are like the large box builders, like your Richmonds, your Toll Brothers, your Meritage Homes, Lennar, etc. They're going to have some semi-customizations, being options that you can pick within an existing layout. And when you do that, you can decide, do you want to have a basement with a walkout that's going to be permitted for that plot? And do you want to finish that basement as part of your design, or do you want it unfinished? And putting that all into scope will add up your final total cost. So that's why they say when you look at these new home communities, Richmond Homes starting at $500,000, well, that means that they're starting at $500,000. When you visit them and you go look at the models are decked out. They're gorgeous. They have every single bell and whistle on them. They look amazing. And they do that on purpose just to pull you in to show you what can be done inside of those properties. Then when you go and you make your acquisition starting at $500,000, you're like, oh, that's fantastic. You go under contract with it, you put down the earnest money, and then you get to go to the design center, which is an incredible experience, by the way. I highly recommend it when you get the opportunity to do so. But make sure that you and I stay in close communication, or whoever your realtor is, so you can keep an eye on your budget, because every add-on you do through the design center adds to the cost of that $500,000. And you can go from $500,000 to $600,000 to $650,000 just like that, because finishing a basement could be $30,000 to $50,000 depending on your finishes. You can put in updates inside of your kitchen that are incredible and add the cost way up. Or you can do certain kind of customization with the wall finishing, or the carpet, or the trim, or the cabinetry, etc. So keeping an eye on your budget is extremely important during this process. And along those lines with the customization and design center, it's very important to talk with the builder to see what packages are offered at their design center, because not all builders are alike. And I found this out the hard way with a client of mine about a year ago. We were looking at a very reputable builder that had amazing design packages, and their top package had a great layout, and my buyer loved it. And she wanted quartz countertops inside of her kitchen, but quartz countertops were not offered at the top package, they were offered at the middle package. At the top package, they were offering them granite, and she did not want that. So I was like, well, why would they go granite versus can we just switch them? And the builder, it was a hard no. So make sure you're checking in with the builder to find out what you want. In the end, this buyer ended up going to a different builder across the way, and they had all the same things. She got her kitchen, her layout, and she got her quartz countertops, at the price that she wanted, versus that other builder who was now out of luck with that buyer. So do your due diligence, work with your realtor, talk about the different build packages in the design center, and do this all up front by asking for what is involved in their standard inclusions list when looking at each home in each new build community. Now let's contrast that to the homes that are spec and already built out. Most of the time they're going to be the same layout and most of the different units. Some will be attached townhomes and row homes, some of them will be single family homes or ranch styles, and they'll have the same layout, and sometimes it'll be an inverse or have a slight change here or there with like a bay window, etc. But for the most part, they're all going to be about the same structure and finish and square footage, etc. They'll choose the kitchens for you already. They're going to choose the countertops, some of the colors. So you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And the benefit is, some people get stressed out because OCD kicks in and you're not sure if you're going to make the right decision and how many change orders are you going to go through in the design center. Or you can just do the spec home where it's picked and you're like, you know what? I kind of like this color with this layout. That sounds good. 3 months move-in, perfect. So another thing to consider while looking at these new homes. Now this next point is actually super important, I feel, because these are some of the items that are not included with your home purchase that are add-ons to when you actually acquire this home. And you're already paying a lot of money. You're going through a lot of steps for this whole process, and it's really important you're up to speed on this. So The number one thing that I think is incredible that is not included when you buy a home, especially if it's an HOA community, will be your fencing. The fencing is typically not provided or paid for by the builder. They'll give you the plot, they'll give you the home, etc., but you have to install those fences in accordance with the HOA guidelines. And if you don't do that within a certain timeline, you're subject to fees and fines. Now, in addition to the fencing, you can also expect to pay for landscaping. And if you've never paid for landscaping before, it sucks. It's super expensive. Like, you'll go call a landscaper out here and be like, I have a budget of $1,000, and just watch them laugh in your face like, great, here's a shrub and a piece of grass. Good luck. Landscaping is crazy expensive, especially in a semi-arid climate like we are in. So if you get landscaping, some builders will give you front landscaping on the front of the house, which is pretty minuscule, nothing major, but they'll leave the back all dirt. Not only do you have to fence it, but you also need to consider your landscaping back there. And if you do a professional design, I've seen people pay upwards of $70,000 for a half an acre plot of professional landscaping. So definitely keep that in mind when doing your build. Some people go into new construction for that reason because they want full control over everything. And if that's in your budget, fantastic. If you're a first-time home buyer and you're like, oh, it's gonna come with grass, no, it's not. And along the lines of grass and landscaping, what's really incredible is irrigation and having an irrigation sprinkler system. A lot of builders also will not install an irrigation sprinkler system into your property because they're not doing the landscaping, they're not doing the fencing. So that's another thing to consider, and that can be quite costly as well. The good news is for all these things, typically when a new construction community goes up, there are services that come through right on the heels of the finishing ones, and they'll offer discounts because they're doing such a huge volume. You can generally jump on that train if you get in early, but it is an added cost, and I like to bring it up. And the last ones I'm just gonna kind of lump together that are not paid for by the builder, mostly because I find them to be kind of interloping and extremely annoying. And that's gonna be your appliances, your garage door opener, and your window coverings. And when I say all that, when window coverings, I'm saying blinds. Some builders do offer blinds if they're with the home and ready to go. Most don't. Appliances, some will give you a washer, dryer, and refrigerator, and some just won't. Garage door openers, it's ridiculous, but a lot of homes will have the garage door, but not the actual motor at the top that sits in the ceiling that opens and closes the garage door. So these are all things you want to consider before you make your purchase, because some builders are amenable to having those included because they get bulk discount rates. And you can typically write that into the contracts depending on the builder and what other options you're exercising. Same with the landscaping and same with the fencing. There are some opportunities to offset those costs, which I'll cover in the next topic, which is lenders and lender incentives. A lot of people will come to a new build community and have their own lender. I typically try to provide lenders. That said, when you go to a new build community, even my own lenders have trouble keeping up with the rates and the incentives and all the offerings that the in-home lenders have by the builders. So it's actually in your benefit and probably your best interest that we all walk in together, you check with the lenders and see what they're offering, especially because that will save you tens of thousands of dollars. So for example, in that regard, I'm working with a client right now who's coming in from San Francisco. They were looking at some places, and we found some really great builder incentives that were offered not only by the design center, but also by the lender. When working with the lender, we had a rate buy down, which is amazing in this climate where we're sitting at about 7 or 8% interest rates. We also had closing costs covered by the lender, or anything towards prepaids, which can be used towards fencing or irrigation, landscaping, you pick it, or they can just buy their rate down even further if they wanted to, up to the cap that's allowable by the lender. My standard lenders cannot compete with that. So this is a huge opportunity for people buying, not only to get a great home, but also reduce the cost of not only the closing costs and some of the unfinished pieces, but also getting that great interest rate being offered by the builder. So it's kind of a great all-in-one package when you look at it, as long as it fits your financial model and you're agreeable to all the terms that they have in their contracts. The second to last item I recommend considering when looking at a new construction community is the Homeowners Association, to make sure that you are in line with what they are requiring as far as their rules and regulations, stipulations, and annual costs. Also, some places won't have an HOA. They'll have what's called a CAB, which is a Community Authority Board. And typically this is involving like a special taxing district. And that's where your HOA costs essentially are rolled into your taxes, which gives you some great amenities, but that can be very costly. So there's a new build community over here on the western side of Highlands Ranch area called Sterling Ranch, and they have a CAB. And their taxes vary depending on finished square footage, etc., but it can be around $7,000 or so. And they have a lot of authority where they can actually kind of monitor what you do or don't do with the property. So it's important that you read these bylaws to make sure not only A, do you like the community you're moving into, the location is a fit, the price is a fit. You want to make sure that that CAB or the HOA are good fit for you, your family, your kids, or yourself, because they are very difficult to deal with if you go against the grain on them. Most are very awesome, most are pretty hands-off, and they keep the community appreciation levels way up because everything is looking nice. They have the medians in great shape, the parks are in great shape, the community, the clubhouses are all amazing. But it does come with a little caveat that they can be a little big brotherish at times. Most won't be, but it's just something to consider. You want to review those docs before you jump into that contract. And the very last piece that I'll cover is inspections. And there are a variety of inspections you can do. I very much recommend using a third-party inspector in addition to your project manager who's helping with the building of the home and your on-site sales rep, etc., and myself. The third-party independent home inspectors are going to be able to do a variety of different inspections for you. One being a pre-drywall walkthrough to make sure that everything is looking up to code. Then it gets checked by the city and the counties if it gets its permits. You also are going to check to make sure that the beams are put together correctly, or they're not going to have any lumber in there that looks like it might be warped or kind of rotten. Then you do a post-drywall inspection. You don't have to do both. You can do one or the other, but you can do both. Post-drywall is the one I highly recommend doing because you want to do that before closing. And during that, you really should do your sewer line inspection. I have heard plenty of nightmare stories of people who have not, and I've experienced one myself with a client who said they don't worry about the sewer line, it'll be just fine. Builders have debris and a bunch of stuff from drywall that gets down and goes into some of the pipes. If that backs up your sewer line and it has nowhere to go, when you move into the house and start using the facilities, that raw sewage has to come somewhere. If it can't go through the pipeline, and it comes back into your basement. And I had that happen to a client. It was a train wreck of a mess. They were sweet people and they had to deal with this gross thing as their first experience in their new home. Do the inspection, do the sewer line inspection. It's like $99. So the home inspector will check all of that. The builder will work with you to address any items they go through. And then when you're working with the builder, typically you will have a 1-year builder warranty that covers basically like a front to back, a bumper to bumper is what I heard it referred to at one of the on-site places. Anything that involves their craftsman and workmanship is covered into that warranty. They also will have a 10-year structural warranty to take care of anything from heaving or any kind of issues with like sinking of the home or structural shifting. Very rarely does this happen, but it's really amazing that you really want that 10-year structural coverage and that 1-year builder coverage. Now, along those lines, the last piece on the inspections, once you move into the home, you've done your inspections, you get your certificate of occupancy, all that good stuff. At the 11 or 10 month mark, you really should consider doing another home inspection, and this is an out-of-pocket cost, just to make sure that that home inspector can check to make sure that the wiring is still looking good, the plumbing is still looking good, all the usual things we check on a home. That home inspector is going to review. If anything is out of alignment, you can go to the builder under the 1-year builder warranty and get that addressed. And that's very important because once that 1-year mark passes, it's entirely on you as the homeowner. So this is just one last fail-safe I highly recommend doing that most builders won't tell you about. It's one of the reasons why, again, you should use a realtor when you're buying your new home. And that should about wrap it all up. That's a lot of information. Sorry, it's a bit wordy in there, but there's a lot of details to cover in a small amount of time. Again, my name is Bill Knapp. I'm a residential realtor here covering the Denver metro and surrounding neighborhoods. If you're considering a move and you want new construction or even residential resale, or if you're looking to sell your home and making a move to a new location, give me a call, reach out, let's see if working together is a fit. All my details are listed below. I'd love to chat with you, jump on a Zoom call, go to coffee, etc., and kick things off from there. Thank you as always for watching to the end, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Cheers.